Hello, dear students. Welcome to the Bajirao IS Academy. So, before starting our editorial discussion, let's play a game of introduction. And in this game, basically, some of the issues related to your district is given. Okay, like it can be related to the sanitation issue, it can be related to the road accidents, like in the previous lecture we dealt with the road accident issue. Okay, so how it will benefit you? It will benefit you in enhancing your thinking power, and also you can ensure confidence in debate participation along with interview, and the most important is solving the case study. Okay, because when you will become officer you have to handle these issues. So definitely these small practices will enable you to think out of the box, and you can also provide suggestions, solutions how you can handle, and it is like more engagement. Okay, you will engage more and you will learn more. This is the simple philosophy of life: more engagement, more learning. So that's why I started this type of initiative. Okay, so without delaying, let's start. And suppose you have been posted as a municipal commissioner of your district. Okay, and on a one fine day you were traveling alongside the river. Okay, and you find that there was huge municipal solid waste. Okay, in the river, and you can see the image here. Okay, and because of this waste the river is dying. Okay, and along with that there are several problems related to the health. Biodiversity is also facing a crisis. Okay, so basically when we talk about river is a lifeline of any district or a state or the nation. Okay, because it has a close coordination with the nature to provide water and other ecosystem services. And when you look at this issue, you observe that before 20 years ago the quality of the water was like the first picture. Okay, it was very clean. Okay, and after 20 years the situation become this type. Okay, and you can see this type of image on the newspaper. Okay, so these are a common issue now becoming. So basically when we talk about river, they are lifeline, and specifically for the vulnerable section, for the fisheries population, they also provide economic benefits. So you know the importance of the river, and you are also understanding that if this situation will continue, that means one day the river will become dead, and along with the associated services that we gain from the river will be getting ended. Okay, so here by observing all of this, some of the important questions I am asking and try to give solutions, suggestions in the chat box. First of all, what are the stakeholders involved in this river issue? Okay, and when we talk about a stakeholder, it can be the people, it can be the government, and I am just highlighting what do you mean by stakeholder. Okay, and again the another question: how rivers have a relationship in ensuring dignified life of a person, of a community. Okay, and when we talk about dignified life, that means this is very important term. Okay, so how are the rivers have an important role in ensuring the lifeline of the district, and along with find causes of the river turning into dead. Okay, try to find out, and you can observe your river in your district if there is any river, and if certain issue is arising, like when we talk about Delhi Yamuna river. Okay, so you can see such type of image as well. Along with when we talk about Ganga river, when it moves through Uttar Pradesh along with Bihar. Okay, so you can also feel this type of crisis. So here find the causes, and as a municipal commissioner of your district, how will you be handling it? Okay, how you will be dealing with this situation, because you know the importance of the river, and there is a need to handle it, because these rivers, if once dead, will become dead, it will not be rejuvenated. Okay, so that is the point, and please try to answer. That is a very important thing. You need to think, you need to think out of the box, you need to think what are the stakeholders involved. This will help in ensuring your confidence building, and also you will know the practical problems of your district. So that's why we have initiated this type of case study solving. Okay, so that's the point, and please do participate. And if you are liking our initiative, please do like, share, subscribe, and also share it with your friend circle. So today we have three articles in discussion, and these articles are very, very important. And why important? You can understand that in 2023 UPSC mains examination, the question of impact of climate change on food security was asked. And here today the article is about climate change impact on health. So maybe in the next year mains question, the questions can be asked about the impact of climate change on the health. Okay, so that's why this article becomes very, very important. And the second article is related to India Japan convergence in Southeast Asia. Okay, and when we talk about the context, basically, Philippines is understanding the dominance of the China in the South China Sea, and that's why Philippines is trying to detach from Chinese investment and along with the Chinese infrastructure projects which are promoted by China. Okay, and Philippines are shifting towards India or Japan for the developmental assistance, for the economic cooperation. So we will understand what is the scope of India, Japan in the Southeast Asia, and we will also try to understand about the relations between India, Philippines, and India, Japan, along with the Japan, Philippines, because all these dots, by connecting all these dots, this will help to point out some of the important solution. Okay, how we can cater the Chinese rising dominance in the South China Sea or the Indo-Pacific. Okay, and the third article is related to the OECD report, Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development's report on climate finance. And what the report highlights, that the climate finance which was pledged by developed nations, okay, of $100 billion per year from 2021 onwards, so they are lacking. Okay, and even what if the finances are mobilizing, what we are seeing that they are mobilized by providing loans to the developing nation. So this is not providing the solution, but it is also increasing the burden of the developing nation, because the developing nations have to repay again. So that's the point which has been highlighted in this report, and we will also try to find some of the important ideas and the issues related to the climate finance, and how private sector can play a role in dealing with the climate finance. So hope you understood the context. Now we are shifting to the article discussion. Okay, and today is 22nd of November, and we will be discussing the daily Hindu newspaper analysis. So basically we have the prelims question for you to solve. So the prelims question, you can attempt it by pausing the video. The question is, with reference to the provisions contained in part 4 of the Constitution of India, which of the following statements is are correct? Statement 1, they shall be enforceable by courts. Statement 2, they shall not be enforceable by any court. And statement 3, the principles laid down in this part are to influence the making of laws by the state. And you have to choose the correct option. So kindly mark whether they are asking correct or incorrect. Okay, and here you can see that a statement 1 and a statement 2 are opposite. So only one of these two statements will be going to true. So you can decode these type of questions, okay, and then you can answer the question. However, we will be providing you the solution in the last session of our discussion, okay. So you give the answer in the chat box, and in the last session we will be providing you the solution. So let's start with our discussion. The first article is related to GS paper 3, okay. So basically when we talk about climate change, what do you mean by climate change? Basically it represents the rise in temperature of the earth, okay. And who is causing the climate change? We, the humans, okay, because of the industrial emissions, because of the agriculture practices that we are doing, along with the vehicular emissions. These are the major sources of the greenhouse gases, and greenhouse gases increases the global temperature because they absorb the heat, okay. So that's the point. And when we talk about the impact of climate change on health, so basically when the conference of party summit 28 is going to held in Dubai, that is the city of UAE, so this issue will be definitely risen, okay. This issue will be rise, okay. And when we talk about climate change, so these are pressing global issue, and it has significant impact on human health. And how the impact can be analyzed? So we can analyze the impact via direct impact or indirect impact. And with reference to India, the impact will be much more. Why? Because number one, we have the higher population in the world, okay, highest population we can say. And number two, the vulnerability due to the climate change is more towards India because of the coastal nature we share, okay. And along with, we have the extreme climatic events in the form of floods, droughts, all of these. So these are going to impact India in a more impactful way. And not only that, you can understand that there is inadequate health system, whether it is the rural India or whether it is the urban India, okay. So even we are not able to provide better healthcare system that can cater the needs and the impacts of the climate change on the health, because in the coming time the vulnerabilities due to the infections, okay, can increase, and this can also burden our healthcare system. So that's the point. And when we talk about impact on health, so you can write in your answer as direct impact and indirect impact. So when we talk about direct impact, that means it has a direct impact on our body, like it can lead to sickness and death due to extreme weather events, okay, heat stress that we have seen in 2023 summer season as well, and along with changes in seasonality and the distribution of vector borne disease. Remember, when we talk about distribution of vector borne disease, so this can be the viral or the bacterial infection, and because of the climate change they have the adaptation capacity, and because of that they can grow to those regions in which earlier it was not present, okay. So they can expand their domain, and not only that, maybe new disease can rise, okay, like we have seen the COVID-19. So in the coming future similar incident can happen. So that's the point. And along with it exacerbates the double burden of morbidity, because first of all, climate change can lead to the communicable disease to be spreading more and more, okay. And along with the non-communicable disease like heart attack, okay, kidney failure, all of that, they are indirectly or directly related. And when we talk about indirect impact, so it can challenge the food security, livelihood, and mental health. And in India, there is less talk about the mental health. Okay, but we know that people in India are very much poor. Okay, and they face the mental crisis in a scenario when there is a disaster or the climatic emergency. Okay, along with heat, physical exertion, and dehydration can lead to chronic kidney disease. Okay, and you can quote a data that the risk of dying from pulmonary disease increases by 1.8 to 8.2% on average during a heat wave. And India is one of the nation that face serious heat wave situations. Okay, and another concept is about urban heat island effect and how does it impacts our healthcare. Okay, so first of all, you need to understand about urban health island effect. What is this? Basically, maybe if you are living in a city, you can observe that in your city during summer, the temperature of your city is relatively higher as compared to the surrounding region, which are much more greener. So why this happens? It happens because of the concrete buildings, the concretization of the land. Okay, and not only that, the industrial emissions, greenhouse gas emissions, the heat emissions from the AC or the coolers. Okay, all of that, so that leads to the relatively higher temperature in the urban city, and this causes the severe heat waves like situation. Definitely, it impacts the health of the people living in the city. Along with, we have overburdened urban primary health system. Okay, and year 2023 now the highest temperature and heat waves. That's a also indicating scenario of the rising temperature of the earth. Okay, and the rising temperature can vary from region to region. Okay, for example, when we talk about Arctic region, so the change in temperature is highly reflected there. Okay, and that's why we have the glacier meltings in a much more deeper way. Okay, so what we have to do, we have to adopt a mitigation strategy. Okay, and to deal with the climate change, what we have the philosophy, one is your mitigation and the another is your adaptation. And can you tell me the difference between mitigation and adaptation? This is separate question I ask you. Okay, so that you can know the difference. So first of all, to mitigate any problem, whether it is climate change or any other, okay, first you have to understand and you have to recognize the direct and indirect problems associated with the climate change. And if you are able to recognize, then definitely you can do and you can fire for solution. Okay, and what are other issues like we have the like lacking in collection of data with related to the health impacts of climate change. So we need to improve our health information system along with implementing social support and health services. Okay, and there are another suggestions like boost the upstream intervention, and here we focuses on better urban planning, green cover, water conservation, and public health. So that's the point. Hope you understood. And there is a action required at all level, whether at the government level. And here the important point you need to understand that regional collaboration is very important. Okay, for example, one state is implementing good policy on climate change, so that information ideas should be shared with the other states so that other state can also improve their climate change mitigation strategy. So that's the point. And here the role of researcher, policymakers, government officials becomes very important, and they must work together to develop and implement effective mitigation strategy. The researchers provide research data about the impact of climate change and how we can deal with that. The policymakers try to make policy and the government officials try to implement that policy. So there is a need of greater collaboration to make our mitigation efforts successful. Okay, that's why any meaningful change to occur to deal with the climate change, there is a collaboration needed between the problems that we are facing, the policy options that we are having developing, and along with the political decision making. Okay, So that's the point. That's the end of the article. Hope you understood. Now we are shifting to the second editorial discussion, and it is related to GS paper 2. So in this context, when we talk about the editorial, so basically, you know that Chinese presence and Chinese dominance is rising. And not only rising, but it is also challenging their neighboring country. And who is their neighboring country? It is your Southeast Asian nations, okay, like Philippines, like Vietnam, Brunei, and there are many more countries, okay. So they are becoming more assertive. They are meaning China is becoming more assertive. And with respect to the claims about South China Sea, you know that entire South China Sea is claimed by China. So that is the biggest issue faced by the Southeast Asian nation, and that's why Philippines understood the Chinese dominance, and that's why the infrastructure support which was taken by Philippines from China is being declined by the Philippines because of these issue. And that's why the Philippines, although they need developmental assistance and security, so that's why Philippines is shifting towards Japan or India for their developmental assistance or the economic cooperation, okay, so that the Philippines can rely on a reliable partner which are based on democracy, which proposes free and inclusive Indo-Pacific. So that's the point, okay. And you can see that many projects which was China led, okay, so Philippines is moving away, and now Philippines is deepening and broadening its security and economic partnership with Japan and India. So that's a very important development for India, for Japan, okay, to tackle the rise of China, okay. And Japan and India are offering the Philippines alternative source of development and security. And the relations are based on the trust. Okay. So that is also very important philosophy. Now we need to understand about the maps of Philippines. If you do understand, then definitely it is very important for the prelims as well. And you can also understand the broader concept, okay, like the South China dispute. So you can understand here, like this is total South China Sea, okay, and China claims entire South China Sea, okay. That's why the nations surrounding the South China Sea, specifically the Southeast Asian nation like Philippines, uh, the Malaysia, okay, the Vietnam, so basically they face fears, okay, because you know the importance of the sea for these people, for these nations, okay, and that's why they are trying to drift away from the China, and this is a welcoming initiative for India or the Japan, even for the US as well, because US also wants the situations like this, so that the US led influence should increase in these regions. So that's the point. Okay. So here we will be talking about the Philippines Japan partnership. So you know that in the recent times the partnership is increasing. Okay. And not only in the case of present but also in the past the relationship was there, but in the current times, because of the Chinese dominance, it is taking much more elaboration, okay, like the Japan is Philippines largest investor and largest source of overseas development assistance. Along with the two countries have a shared interest in a free and open Indo-Pacific that is also shared by India as well, okay. And that's why the historic visit of Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida to the Philippines in 2022 marked a new era of bilateral relations to try to observe these developments. Why this development is going on? Because Philippines know that if we engage with Japan or India, so we have better like relations, and we can better deal with the developmental issue, okay, and we can ignore China. So you can understand all of that. And along with, they are seeking to formalize a reciprocal SS agreement for military cooperation. Now tell me, what do you mean by reciprocal SS agreement? Okay, try to Google it if you do not know, and then answer in the comment box. So that's the point. And when we talk about Philippines India relationship, so it is also increasing in the present time. Like, there was a visit of Philippines Secretary of Foreign Affairs in Enrique Manalo to New Delhi, along with memorandum of understanding. These are agreements basically, okay, between the Philippines and Indian Coast Guard occurred, which allowed both sides to improve interoperability, intelligence sharing, and maritime domain awareness. And recently, India offered to supply Philippines Coast Guard with 7 indigenously manufactured helicopters, and along with, that in the previous time there was an agreement as well that India will supply Philippines BrahMos supersonic cruise missile. So what these indicates that India and Philippines cooperation is also increasing in the defense sector and other sector as well. Okay, so that's the point I need to highlight it, and the article is highlighting it. Okay, and that means the role of Japan and India is becoming very crucial, okay, to grow its engagement in Southeast Asia. Okay, and we have a survey, and in this survey, Japan and India are the top two choice of Southeast Asian country for alternative Indo-Pacific strategic partners. Okay, and we have the good relations, robust relations with Japan and India. We have, okay, and it is reflected in bilateral military exercises which is conducted on the regular basis, and 2+2 dialogue, that. And what do you mean by 2+2 dialogue? Kindly comment. Along with, we have the Quad and G20 summit, okay. And in 2017 we also initiated Asia Africa growth corridor that was seeing like alternative to BRI project, okay, Belt and Road Initiative that China is doing, okay. And in this corridor, it aimed to boost the collaboration with the African countries in terms of development, economic cooperation, all of that. So hope you understood this article. So there is another suggestion, like, in the recent time we are moving to develop relation on the trilateral basis, and on the trilateral basis it means three countries. So first two countries, India and Japan, and the another third party country, it will be either the country of South Asia or the Southeast Asian nation. So currently we are more focusing on South Asian country, like, India, Japan, and Bangladesh, India, Japan, and Sri Lanka. So we have to enhance, we have to expand this third country cooperation model to Southeast Asian nation as well, to incorporate the Southeast Asian nation as well, okay, like, it can be India, Japan, Philippines as well, okay. So that's the point has been highlighted here. So hope you understood, and now we are shifting to the third article is related to GS paper 3, and we have already discussed the first article related to the climate change, and here the issue is about the lacking climate finance as pledged by developed nation, okay, during the COP, that is Conference of Party Summit, okay. So basically, recently, the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, that represents group of developed nation, okay, they released a report, and in this report there was a major highlight that the climate finance which was placed, okay, in 15th Conference of Party, and that was further formalized at COP16 summit in Cancun 2010, and along with reaffirmed at COP21 in Paris in 2015. Basically, in this climate finance, there was a talk that $100 billion climate finance will be released from the developed nation to the developing nations, and what will be the objective, so that the developing nation can shift towards greener and cleaner fuels to combat the climate change, and also for the historical responsibility of these developed nation, because these developed nation became developed at the cost of greenhouse gas emission. Okay, when these countries were facing industrial revolution, there was huge emissions of the greenhouse gas and fossil fuel emission that led to the increase in the average rise in global temperature. That's why historical responsibility lies on these countries, and there was a need that finance should be provided to developing nation. Okay, otherwise the developing nations will follow the same model of the developed nation, that is the model of the greenhouse gas emissions. Okay, because they does not have technology, they does not have the financial assistance. So what they will do, they will follow their path. Okay, that's the simple thing. That's why the climate finance was needed, and it was fully formalized in COP21, that is the Paris Climate Change Conference. Okay, and that is historical conference. And what was the agreement under this? You can tell me in the comment section. Okay, so that's the point. And we have told you about the regions behind the $100 billion fund goal, but it is like a talk. Okay, and in this recent report, what has been highlighted, that what the developed nation targeted to contribute to these developing nations $100 billion. So only they mobilized $89.6 billion. Okay, that means underfunding. And even what, only mobilization, but when it comes to the devolution in the real terms, it is also facing challenge. Okay, because the mobilization, it needs devolution, but when it comes to the devolution, the developed nation feels restricted, okay, to share the funds. So that's the point. And we have another key finding, like finances for adaptation fell by 14% in 2021 compared to 2020. So with increasing time, we need more finance, but here the finances are shrinking. And not only that, you will be surprised to know that these climate finance should be in the grant based. Okay, and in grant there is no loan or the interest rate. Okay, but here loan based financing was having the major share, about two-thirds share. Two-thirds share means how much percent? 66% approx. Okay, and this will increase the burden on the developing nation to repay the loan in terms of interest rate, in terms of principal. So on the one side, the developed nation is like telling that we are providing climate finance, but they are not providing climate finance in actual term, but they are increasing the burden on the developing nation. Okay, because most of the finance are loan based. Okay, and not only this issue, there are another issue. Okay, like on the other side, what the developed nation will say, that we are committing to our climate finance, but on the other side they are like giving loans. Okay, so giving loans does not provide solution. The first point you should understand. And there is a issue of double counting. So what do you mean by the issue of double counting? Is like developed country do provide various developing nation, underdeveloped nation as overseas developmental assistance. So they tries to incorporate these developmental funds into the counting of climate finance. Okay, but the article says treat them differently. Why you are integrating? So the developmental assistance is different fund, the climate finance is different one, and if you are trying to integrate, that means you are like playing a double game. Okay, so that's the point. And hence there is a suggestion that provide more grant based financing and stop the double counting overseas development assistance as the climate finance, make it separate. And along with, there is a special focus in this article that there is a need to work with the private sector to mobilize more investment in the climate action, because private sector can have a innovation, can have a various solution to deal with the climate change, and the investment mobilization can be done. Let's say the electric vehicles. Okay, so basically electric vehicles can definitely help in reducing the global emissions. Okay, but these are outcome of what? Private sector investment. Okay, so the private sector investment directly indirectly can help to deal with the climate action. So that's the focus, and that's the end of the article. Hope you understood. Now we are shifting to the questions solution for the prelims. Okay, so the solution is option D, that is 2 and 3. And here how you can come to the correct answer. First of all, we have definitely tell you that 1 and 2, only one option will be correct. So you can eliminate the option 2. No, you can eliminate the option 1, because when we talk about part 4 of the constitution, it is DPSP, directive principle of state policy. And what DPSP does, it provides suggestions to the state. Okay, and the suggestion is given by the constitution. And when we talk about the state, it can be the executive, it can be the legislature. Okay, and what are the suggestions? Like uh, ensuring the equitable distribution of wealth, prevention of concentration of wealth, okay, enforcing the uniform civil code, and there are very other suggestions. Okay, so these are suggestions, but these are not fundamental right. Okay, and that's why they are not enforceable by any court. Okay, fundamental rights are enforceable, but when we talk about DPSP, they are not enforceable. So only uh, uh, one the first statement will become incorrect, and we are left with two options, that is 2 or 2 and 3. So we will looking at option 3. So option 3 says that the principles laid down in this part are to influence in the making of the laws by the state. Yes, that's correct. And you can see that various schemes related to the poorer section or the vulnerable section. Okay, or like we give unemployment allowance. So these are related or influenced from the DPSP principle. Okay, like we have the Manrega work. Okay, so these are also influenced by the DPSP principle. So that's why they influence the making of laws by the state as well. And option 2 and 3 is correct. And hope you understood the question and the answer. Okay, and hope the session made you much enjoyable. And if you are enjoying, then please do like, share, subscribe, and share with the friend circle. Thank you, friend. Thank you very much. We will meet again with the next round of discussion. Thanks.